Yes, sir.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you, Brother Jim.
Hey, man, we've been seeing each other for a while now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Under all types of circumstances.
All
good. All good.
All good.
Yes, sir.
And the right cause. That is so good. And then our good friend, he was around for the right reason and the right cause, too.
Oh, yes.
Reverend Dr. Pastor Hartsfield.
Oh, yeah.
Good man, wasn't he?
Tremendous.
Yeah.
I always viewed Reverend Hartsfield as the official chief of the black community. And I mean that in the sense that you think about it in terms of a chief. A chief is a person who is a steward over the community, which means that if there's a dispute, that's who you go to.
Right.
The chief is a person who has wisdom because they've not only been around a while, they dealt with a lot.
Right.
So if there's a misunderstanding or conflict, that's who you go to.
Right.
The chief is a person we need to call the community together.
Right.
And everybody knows that no matter what's going on, if you need to get everybody there, you need to call Reverend Hartsfield and let him call everybody together.
Right.
Because no matter who you are, you get that call, you got to show up.
Right.
And so Reverend Hartsfield embodied all of that.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to embodying all of that, it makes you a chief. He had that level of integrity that if he said, hey, son, this is what you need to do, our community, this is what you need to do, you said, okay.
Yeah.
That's Reverend Hartsfield. You know,
And he had target words, didn't he?
Oh, he did.
Son.
That's right. And
Boy.
that's right. And depending on how close you were to him, you know, he could get even deeper than that. And an example of that was he and Don Maxwell. You know, they're really close so much they joke with each other in ways that I would never joke with Reverend Hartsfield. And so I was over at Maxwell's for a meeting, and while I was in there, Reverend Hartsfield came up. Oh, and Maxwell, you know, he went through his whole routine. I said, man, I'm gonna turn you in. I'm gonna give a report to Reverend Hartsfield about what you said. And so I happened to run into Reverend Hartsfield the next week over at the church. There was an event going on, and I sat next to him. I said, I got to talk to you about something, Pastor. He said, what is it? I said, I was in a meeting with Don Maxwell for about an hour. And I said, Reverend, he didn't have nothing good to say about you. And he laughed, and he said, okay. And the next time I saw Maxwell, he said, man, you turned me into Reverend Hartsfield. He said, Reverend Hartsfield called me up and said, Ajamu said you said this. And he said, yeah, he told me he was going to tell on you. And so we all joked about that, you know. So that was Reverend Hartsfield. Man, he always had the ability to make people like me feel like he cared about me and that he was close to me. And that was always an honor.
Right.
And so if I ever got a call from him, Reverend, I got a call from him a week before they had the celebration, you know, of his 90th birthday. It was such an honor to hear his voice on the phone. You know, Reverend Hartsfield calling me. I said, oh, I sit up straight. And how you doing, Reverend? You know. So yeah, and yeah, the other thing too was once he stopped driving, and we'd go to a meeting, and I'd see him at a meeting or something over at the church. I would always ask him, Reverend, you need a way home? You know, yeah, son. So I'd drop him off, and it got to be a point where I looked forward to dropping him off. And then I said, wait a minute, Reverend, you got this whole big old church where everybody know you mean nobody's gonna drop you off? You only live a few blocks away. He said, son, I'll just be glad to ride with you. So I felt honored. I'm Reverend Hartsfield off at home, you know. So Reverend Hartsfield, his 90 years were 90 powerful years that I really appreciate all the stories and the jokes that he shared with me over here. Reverend Hartsfield could tell some jokes, you know. So really, really wonderful legacy that he left here in this community.
You know, I saw him turn a guy around who is African that was challenged, but he drew the line with this brother, and that was Clint Nash. Yeah, you can't be cussing in my church.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've seen some things I've forgotten about.
You forgot about that.
Oh, I had a, you know, it's good to talk about. I mean, you know, we're sad that to lose Reverend Hartsfield, but it's wonderful when you have a relationship with a person. You think about it, it makes you smile.
Yeah.
And there was a situation one time where the word got out that me and Lee Barnes and Lynn Tahi was having conflict with a person who was one of his deacons, who was also a principal in the school district. And we got called in. And I'll never forget, they called us in, we went into Reverend's office, And then the secretary, go wait in the office, Reverend will be there. So we were all sitting there, like in the principal's office. Reverend Hartsfield came to the door. He slammed that door behind. He threw his coat off. He rolled up the sleeve. I said, "Oh, this is going to be a rough day in here." Woo, boy, he worked us over good that day. And when we left, we went outside in front. And, you know, we apologized. It was a misunderstanding. We went outside in front of the church. And then he talked to us and he told us some jokes and we laughed. I'm telling you, we laughed for 20 minutes off of one joke. So Reverend Hartsfield, even if he gave you a whooping, you still make you feel good afterwards. So learned a lot. Learned a lot from Reverend Hartsfield. Oh my goodness.
Learn how to take the bitter along with the sweets.
Yes.
He was a very remarkable guy and would stand up.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? When I was at Minority Contractor, the amazing thing about Reverend Hartsfield that he never questioned was I right.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Never did.
Mm-hmm.
Never did. But he came. You know, and that was an amazing thing about that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then in spite of people who were, you might say, distasteful, he still tolerated.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you know, it was the kind of thing where there were people that we thought we don't want to be in the same meeting with them. This person's not trustworthy. And so it's Reverend Hartsfield make everybody sit down in a meeting and hash it out.
Right.
So I think the point you made is very well spoken though in terms of standing up.
Right.
I remember when the situation was going on at Sprint and they were building the whole complex out there.
Yeah.
And our folks wasn't getting enough of the business. And of course, Reverend Hartsfield was the person who stood up for us there.
Right.
And there are just countless of other situations. I remember when we were having issues with the school district, working around the African Center School, and Reverend Buzzy Thompson and Reverend Hartsfield would come down, and you could count on them standing up. I remember we had an issue with the, this was really interesting thing, this was with the Desegregation Monitoring Committee.
Okay.
Eugene Eubanks was over, and they were running the school district at that point.
Right.
There's some things we wanted to get done with the African Center School, and we kind of set the meeting up, and all of a sudden, Reverend Hartsfield, Reverend Abel came walking in the door, and it just, we came in to check and see what was going on. So, you know, you're talking about men of that generation that, you know, that stood for something, sacrificed on behalf of the rest of us, and had the heart and humility to make us all feel like they cared about us. You know, you never had to wonder whether or not they were in it for themselves. Good lessons for us to learn all the way around.
You know what? That's part of the science of life is a person that has a character that makes folks feel genuine.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the science of life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one that if you can ever challenge that to incorporate that into your character, it'll make you a better person.
Oh yeah. I enjoyed watching Reverend in environments outside of our community, in meetings that I happened to attend with him, and just watched how other people related to him. And he wasn't a different person in the community, outside the community. I'll give you an example. A guy by the name of Mike Chesser, who used to be the CEO of KCP&L.
I remember Mike.
Mike actually was a pretty good guy.
He was, yeah.
And Mike was helping us. We were just getting ready to try to launch this whole credit union thing. And Mike was ready to leave, and he had already announced he was leaving. And right before he left, he had a lunch. He invited Reverend Hartsfield, myself, and Reverend Hartsfield Jr. too, and he invited Terry Basham, who became head of KCP&L. So we were all sitting at the table together. And so what happens is Mike Chester looks over at Reverend Hartsfield. He says, you know, I'm retiring out. And he said, I know you retired. He said, but we've got two people here who are following behind us. And he pointed to Terry Basham and he pointed to Reverend Hartsfield Jr. And he said, you know, these young men, we want to make sure they got a chance to meet so they can carry on the relationship that you and I had. And by you and I, he meant Reverend Hartsfield and Mike Chester. So I saw that here's a guy who, KCP&L, who I came to respect in terms of someone who's actually working with our community, and saw that he was actually working with Reverend Hartsfield, and that was a person that he was counseling with in terms of what he can do to have a great impact on this community. And then they handed off to Reverend Hartsfield Jr. and Terry Basham. Okay, now we've established this relationship. you all carried this forward. And so I saw how it is when you are a leader in the community that you also support other people. You support other leaders. You pass the baton.
Right.
You make it available for others. And it was a great lesson to be able to sit and observe that. Yeah, to be right there.
Right.
So it was, that's the integrity part of it that you mentioned, Jim, in terms of Pastor Hartsfield.
Yeah. Right. Easy to talk to. Easy to talk to. No matter who you are or what you are. He was easy to talk to.
Oh, yes.
And willing to help. You know, and I mean, there's so many characters of examples of his character to kind of that are a burning flame. You know,
oh yeah. And I had a little thing that, first of all, easy to talk to. I've seen him when a fight would break out. I mean, I've been in a meeting at the Urban Summit, and literally a fight broke out, and Reverend Hartsfield went in and smooth both of those sides, but I'm not calling names, you know both of the brothers. Yeah. Smooth, pull everybody aside, and then afterwards he could talk calmly to both individuals about what the issues were, so it's easy to talk to. But I had this little thing I would do with Reverend, you know. In fact, Jim, when you mentioned this, I started thinking, and every time I would think, something else would come up. But I had this little thing I would do with Reverend Hartsfield. I would see Reverend Hartsfield, and I would get down on my knees, and I would grab his hand to kiss his ring. He'd be, boy, just get away from here, boy. Just get away. And that was our thing. So every time I saw him at Steve, I would do that. And then if he wouldn't see me for a while, and then I show up, and he was, oh, look who coming up in here, Ajamu coming. Boy, I don't know what. Then I go down, kiss his hand. Oh, boy, get on me. So that was our thing, you know. He made me feel special. I wanted to always show him that respect. But because he could have fun, you could have fun. Reverend Hartsfield just made you feel like, you know, man, I look at Wallace, his son, and I say, man, boy, I tell you what, you really, you blessed, you know, to have this as your dad. And then to be able to share it with all the rest of us who want to connect with a great man like that. So, yeah.
You know, a guy like that sacrifices a lot of time away from his family.
Yes. Yes.
See, that's the part that people don't really look at. I was listening to an interview. I love personal development and video books, whatever. But I was listening to Warren Moon. Made me feel so good last night because it inspired me for today. I needed something. Yesterday was kind of melancholy doing interviews. You know what I mean? You got to do interviews about somebody who you cared about a lot. But they even just a person, period, doing it on this type of subject. And Warren Moon was one of those change agents. So everybody forget about all the stuff he went through because he went through a lot. Yeah. You know, verbal abuse. He said one time at a game they said the police just came. They said, hey, you stay with us because there's a guy out there that wants to shoot you. And this guy got 4 kids. So guys who are change agents, you know, they take a lot of time away from the family. And that's one of the things he said at the end, that he wanted to give all the time that he had left on this earth to his kids. And they interviewed his kids, and they said, hey, look, he might have been away, but we got him now. See, because you get that time away, you know, you do the same thing.
It's amazing that you would say that, and you think about how he came up in terms of Reverend Hartsfield. And I remember, and some stories people won't tell if you've got a black and white audience. They just won't.
Right, that's right.
Reverend Hartsfield would tell the stories that kind of bring it on. And he talked about it. I remember having a discussion about, you know, he grew up in Florida, outside Jacksonville, Florida. But he had talked about an instance where he actually saw a black man being drugged by the neck behind a car, and the impact that had on him.
That's right.
And, you know, a lot of times people think, oh, man, this was 200 years ago. We don't.
No.
But when you bring that home and say, look, this is what I saw. I'm not telling you something I read or heard about. This is what I saw. It brings a level of sensitivity, you know, a level of commitment. You know, either some people see something like that, they go into a fear mode and like, hey, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
Right.
But if you can see that kind of injustice to your people, and it inspires you to stand up,
right,
knowing that you've witnessed the consequences, that says a lot about the sense of personal strength.
Right.
And that rubs off on people. You know, when you close to Reverend Hartsfield, you feel that strength.
Right.
And it's a strength that's not born out of boastfulness, but that's like metal. It's been tested.
Right.
And it's been forged, and it's confident. And so when he talked about being with his family, you know, he told me the story about him and, you know, Reverend Hartsfield used to be in Wichita.
Right, that's right.
And so he told me that, I hope Wallace don't mind me telling this story, but he riding around in the car, and young Wallace was pretty radical, you know.
Right.
So the police pulled him over. And when the police pulled him over, I'm paraphrasing now, the police asked, you know, I just need to see your ID. And Wallace said, "You just trying to stop us because we black?" No, Wallace was probably about 19 years old. Let me write it down. And Reverend Hartsfield showed him the stuff. And then after the police left, he said, "Boy, we're going to have to leave Wichita. You're going to get me killed out here." So that was the story that he told me. And then Wallace was there. We laughed. He said, "Is that true?" He said, "Yeah, that's what happened." You know, he was that kind of a father figure,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of his family, you know, you think about him and his children and what they mean and their role in this community. I mean, he's a father for all of us. When you think of a father as being someone protective,
That's right.
caring, and a role model for what it means to be a man.
Right. And family loses a lot.
Yeah.
They lose.
Yeah.
I mean, because I thought about Reverend Hartsfield and then I listened to the story about Warren Moon. I mean, you know, like, hey, man, you know, you gave it all outside, but you fell short on the inside a little bit. Hey, Ajamu, would you like to give us a closing comment about how you feel about Reverend Hartsfield?
Well, you know, it's hard to sum Reverend Hartsfield up in just a few words, but again, as I said, Reverend Hartsfield was a role model and example of what it means to really be a chief, to be a leader, to be a steward, an example of how it is that you take adversity that's happened in your life and make it a strength and share it with other people. And the ability to do that and connect with people, to make people feel like you care about them, that they're more than what they thought they were because you spent some time with them, that to me sums up Reverend Hartsfield. And I've never met anybody like that before, and I've never met anybody that made me feel that because I was around him and he called my name out in public or called me on the phone, I was more than what I thought I was. I was special. And when you're down, and things aren't going well, you want to run into Reverend Hartsfield because you're going to feel better about yourself. So, you know, God bless Reverend Hartsfield. To the family of Reverend Hartsfield, you know, our condolences to you. But to the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, we all appreciate you, and we look forward to you having him in your life as a role model now that he's an ancestor, to be a path forward so that you can understand and become the person like he would want you to be and like the person that Reverend Hartsfield is in our hearts going forward.
Wow, that was pretty good.
Thank you.
Ajamu, it's a pleasure.
My brother.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right.